Apoorva, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
We were talking earlier. You have a fund that's been here for about 10 years now. The current fund you said is about $180 million. And you invest at the seed stage, focused on currently on the AI technologies.
It's the entire stack of AI from the infra layer to the application layer, but we also look at enabling technologies like data infrastructure and developer tools.
If you go back, and 10 years is a long time in Silicon Valley, the investment landscape has changed, entrepreneurship has changed, obviously the ecosystem is evolving. If you were to describe that, in a minute or so to understand and how that landscape is changing and how the entrepreneurs have gotten better.
Yeah. So firstly, I want to caveat that I didn't start the fund 10 years back. I've been at the fund for my third stint in venture. I've been at other venture funds as well, and it's been 2 years here. But I've been in venture enough for the last decade plus that I've seen kind of how the ecosystem has evolved. And I think in terms of especially the AI ML landscape, I think the biggest change has been the customer acceptance of what they want to buy, and whether they want the product to be AI powered or not. I think I remember the time when I used to be an executive at an NLP company back in the day. It was called Quid, and it was basically figuring out how to apply unsupervised learning to neural nets, and customers didn't even want to hear any of that. They just wanted to understand how can this technology be applied to pain points, and I think that was it was a good problem to solve, because you were actively thinking about customer pain points. You were thinking of the shape of the product that would address the customer pain points, and you were thinking of a solution. And to now, the market is completely turned on its head, where I think the beauty of all these models is that it feels like magic, and so customers feel like they should have that magic, they should own this magic. And so the question has now become what AI are you selling to me? And I feel like the market should kind of settle in the middle. They need to have the appreciation for the technology, but we still need to solve the hard pain points that they have. People should be product centric. I felt that there was a phase pre Gen AI in the market where the biggest questions that customers, founders and VCs were all asking, what pain point are you solving, what product are you building, and now it's mostly moved to oh, you're a promising founder with great credentials, and you're building this technology, and we're ready to invest. And I think that's the wrong question, in my opinion. I think it has to go back to the fundamentals, and I think that's to a certain extent what's led to capitalization in the space. Although I would say that if you are training models, you do need to be well capitalized. Otherwise, most of that capital is with hyperscalers today, and that's why I think whether it's OpenAI, whether it's Anthropic, any of these model providers need to raise the right amount of capital to kind of take those models to market. But you have to build products that are enduring products, and that all goes back to the fundamentals of asking the question, what pain points am I solving, and what product do I need to build?
So that brings us to the current scenario. When people are approaching you or looking for the prospective entrepreneurs, what are a couple of attributes that you look for before you think that they are the right investment and you take your risk and you bet on it?
Yeah. I think there are a couple of things, right? One is there are two pieces now. One is the fundamentals of looking at founders. The second is how do you evaluate founders for this phase or the market shift that's happening? I think the fundamentals still stay the same, and the biggest piece of the fundamental is are they deeply technical and product centric? Because if they're deeply technical, they can build anything, but they need to be able to build it around a product, around a thesis. Secondly, do they have any thesis in mind around go-to-market, around even if that thesis may be wrong in the future, and they can iterate on that. But do they have mental models that they can prove or disprove going forward? And I think the third piece of it is if you're building for a certain domain, have you experience in that domain? And I think a lot of times when you're building horizontal tooling and horizontal applications, investing behind product centric, deeply technical founders works. But I think if you're investing in like life sciences or like any core domain, which I think you need to understand the nuances of that space. We like to invest behind bilingual founders. Bilingual means that someone should be from that domain paired with someone who understands technology and product. Ideally, both should understand product, but that's kind of the combination. I think the other part of it is like relevant for today's market, and I think the other piece of that is like everyone talks about the models that are coming out and the technology changing at a great pace. I think one of the things that we want to see is like, are people experimenting with that in their free time? Like, what experiments have you run as a founder or a potential founder? Like, don't tell me that those experiments have to be run by an engineering team. Like, as a founder of a company that you want to build in the ML space or the AI space, now that you have access to an API, it's an API call away. Like, what experiments have you run, and what kind of products have you built in your free time? And secondly, I think we also look for the thing that in today's world, you shouldn't try to replace something which can be solved with a deterministic software, because at the end of the day, AI is indeterministic. It's stochastic in nature. That's why there are chances of it hallucinating. But it's great at doing things that humans can do, and so there's a big enough market that it's opened up, so that you don't have to go and replace incumbents that were very deterministic in doing their jobs like to a certain extent well. There's enough market to be explored out of that, and the reward for that is much bigger than what the reward for SaaS was till now. And I think that is kind of an exciting way to kind of look at founders, because our job is to like invest behind people and thesis areas, and so it takes 70-80% of it is evaluating people.
Great, thank you for that explanation and appreciate that.